Hello everyone, can you guys hear me? Hello. Oh man, hope you guys are enjoying the the ambient music and the beautiful visuals here. Welcome to the stream, everyone. Welcome to the stream as we travel through space. I'm just kidding. Yeah, space ASMR. Is the volume okay? Are we good about the volume stuffs? How are we doing? Is the sound too loud? Turn on the volume just a little bit, perhaps. Alrighty. Excellent. I'm glad the volume is working out okay. As long as you guys can hear me compared to the music, I don't want you guys to be straining yourselves to listen to my succulent voice. I'm just kidding. My voice is of no merit whatsoever. But yeah. Alrighty, guys. Okay, well, let's go ahead and I don't know. Should we get started? Shall we? Might be something that we can go ahead and get started, shall we? Alrighty. Well, welcome to the stream, everybody. In case you guys are unaware, today is Sunday, for one thing, and also Sundays are kind of freeform, freestyle days. You know what I'm saying? So Sundays are a day where I get to kind of do whatever I want, but with you guys, and that's a pretty fun time, I think. So typically we've had role modeling streams, we've had audience versus animator streams, we've had GooCast and stuff like that, and today is a GooCast day. So in case you guys don't know what a GooCast is, it is just basically a day where a stream where I just talk. You know, we just talk about things and stuff and issues that I feel like it is important to me, and maybe even important to you. Who knows? Today's stream is about artificial intelligence, and why? Because I felt like talking about artificial intelligence, and it's just something that I personally enjoy. I enjoy talking about it. I enjoy researching it and stuff like that. I'm in no way an expert on the matter, which is why I've also brought in you guys, as well as some interviews I did with some professors and stuff at UT a long time ago. I have a few of those videos there that I want to see if I can recall. I had an edited version, but you guys are gonna have to deal with me jumping through and stuff like that. But yes, yes, AI. So what is AI? Just to introduce the concept, artificial intelligence is the idea of a computer becoming intelligent in some way, being able to make its own decisions based on its environment and circumstances. Now, artificial intelligence specifically usually refers to the idea of computers becoming as smart as humans. So there is a big question of like, will computers ever become as smart as humans? And that's a really good question, a really hard question, right? Yeah, it's something that a lot of people have been sort of fighting with in terms of whether or not that's possible and whether or not it's a good thing. Yeah, I'm talking about AI today, and if I'm not responding to your questions, that's just because I just want to get my stuff down, get my thoughts down before I respond too much and too quickly. But yes, so. Tish Potato actually asks, have you seen the AI YouTuber? And yes, I have. So that's a good segue into what we want to talk about real quick. Is for those of you guys who are unaware or don't know about artificial intelligence, like terminology and stuff like that, there's something that's really cool called the Turing test, and a lot of people who talk about AI first bring up the Turing test because the Turing test is a test that people use to determine whether or not an artificial intelligence is intelligent enough, how close it is to human. And basically, it's very self-explanatory. The Turing test is a test that determines if a robot is indistinguishable from from a human. The test is very, very simple. Basically, you have three people, three parties, one interrogator and two interviewees, essentially. So the two interviewees, one of them is a robot, or one of them is a machine, and one of them is a human. So the Turing test is basically, it's a test from the eyes of the interrogator, where the interrogator asks questions to both parties, and, you know, if the responses from those parties are indistinguishable from each other, not in the fact that it's like the same answer, but in the fact that you can't tell which one is human and which one is robot, then that robot has passed the Turing test. So, yeah, if you yeah, so if you can ask a robot and a human the same question and not know which one is the robot and which one is the human, that is what the Turing test is supposed to accomplish. And it does exist. It's a real test that people have been performing on robots and artificial intelligence for many years now. Alan Turing was actually the original, the guy who came up with it, and he's also the father of computer science. And the father of computer science, you know, being this amazingly intelligent man, even though computer science wasn't even invented yet, you know, he is literally creating computers, you know, as he spoke. Already foresaw the future of computers being something that could possibly be as smart as humans. And in preparing for that, he created the Turing test. So yeah, he was a genius by far. He's an absolute genius. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So that's what the Turing test is. And in the recent times, there have been quite a few passings of the test, I should say. Various robots have passed the test in the past decade or so, and that's kind of misleading. I would argue that no AI has really passed the Turing test to the point where it's like indistinguishable in all cases. There have been certain situations, for example, where one group of scientists created an AI that was meant to mimic a child whose second language was English. So you could ask questions, and then if it answered in any weird way, in your mind you could kind of get away with the fact that, oh, it's just a child who's, you know, where English is a second language. And of course they would compare it with another child whose English was a second language when they did the test. And, you know, that's kind of misleading. But anyway, I want to kind of focus the theme of this discussion about whether or not you guys think AI is something that's good for society or something that's bad for society. This is kind of something that really gets people's morality compasses really kind of skewed, because AI is something that is really, in my opinion, a moral gray area. There is a lot of discussion about, you know, the Terminator-esque future versus the the Wall-E-esque future. You know, you never really know which one is going to be the outcome when we finally reach the point where AI is indistinguishable from humanity. You have something called the singularity, where robots and humans blend in together. You can't really tell. So my question is, which do you guys think is the more probable outcome? Something where AI becomes evil and, you know, becomes bad for humanity, or something where AI becomes good for humanity? I'd like to know your opinions, and I'd like to kind of touch on both sides. What do you guys think? Let me know. Yeah, it can be good or bad. It's true. It can be either one. Either one. Yeah. It's limited to what we tell it to do, to a certain extent. There's obviously some stuff that we can do to have them make their own decisions, and yeah. Otherwise, we will be creating life, and then we have the slavery thing. Yes, so slavery is another thing that, in terms of if we were ever to have some sort of, it would be very, very, very confusing to see if, you know, AI, if they were to become our slaves, would they would they appreciate that? I don't think they would. But of course, that's only if we program them not to appreciate it. So it's kind of hard. I don't know. Yes, those terrible robot laws. Yeah, so the robot laws in AI, most people refer to it as iRobot, the iRobot robot laws. 'Cause those are the three laws of robotics. I should probably look them up. They are, I think number one is robots must not harm a human being. You know, but the ones that make zero sense, it wouldn't hold up IRL. Yeah, exactly. I mean, even in the movie, it doesn't really work. It's a major risk, but it all depends on what people do with it as well. Like, there was a bot on Twitter that posted based on other posts, and it saw it and it became extremely racist. Yeah, it's true. It's true. The Japanese one became suicidal. What? I had no idea. A robot must not harm a human or allow a human to come to harm through inaction. Robots are not allowed to harm a human being. Yes, it's mostly broken by military robots. That's true. That is true. But from a personal standpoint, I think it could be bad. What I fear is that the AI would grow smarter than the people who made them, eliminating its own weaknesses and building an army of its own. Yes, yeah. So the true chaos. You mentioned something that is very scary. So I want to go into. I actually did a research paper on this in my senior year of college about robots and robot armies, and how is that going to affect the idea that, like, if we create an AI, will they turn on us? Especially when we have these military drones, right? What if the army takes off on its own? But the truth is, it's inevitable that we're going to be using machines for military. That is something that is going to happen. We're already doing it. We have drones that are man-piloted, but the moment we have these drones that are not, piloted by a pilot and have them just artificially, controlled, artificially controlled, I should say, whatever. But that is something that will happen. We're gonna have robots in the military. Look at Boston Dynamics, right? Boston Dynamics is a great robotics company. They always make these amazing robots that are constantly being shown on their YouTube channel, and people are like, "Oh wow, this robot's amazing!" And just mechanically speaking, like, it's very capable of doing a lot of things. You look at Big Dog, you look at I think Cheetah or whatever it was, and the recent one I think it was. I think they named one Atlas, and there was another one, I forgot what his name is, the most recent one. They are extremely capable of moving around certain terrains and stuff like that. That is for military purposes. I mean, let's be real. I mean, I imagine most of their funding comes from military. I don't want to state that, but they have a lot of government interest, because there's just a lot of stuff there that they can use. And as they use that, as they develop that technology, it's going to become more and more likely that they will be attaching weapons to those. And once they attach weapons to those, you have the whole, like, okay, well, this guy's, clearly going to be using it for bad things. But is it, though? Is it? I don't know. Give me 1 second here. I'm trying to save this new GIF here. Let's do this. Yeah. Now, whatever. Anyway. So yeah. Oh, man. Let me see if I can actually get the... I'm most afraid of creative robots making me envy more. Yeah, so that's another thing. So I wanted to talk about artificial intelligence and the idea of artificial intelligence taking over artwork. Because artwork is something that people view as inherently more human, right? We're like, okay, so this is clearly something that only humans can do, right? And everybody who's creative is like, okay, no, I'm creative. I can do these things and make these decisions, and no robot possibly can, because I'm special. I'm a snowflake that logic can't possibly reason. Well, unfortunately, that's not true. Music has already been kind of roboticized, I should say. But music has already been composed by robots. We have robots composing music. We already have robots drawing pictures, albeit not as good as humans. And recognizing pictures is already, a huge feat. Being able to appreciate art and figure out which artwork is kind of, the most beautiful, I'm sure it can easily be algorithmized, right? So that's, robots can create art. And I think that is something that we have to know. Now, if we want to talk about the impact of artificial intelligence on our society, I want to talk, CGP Grey actually has a really good video talking about the future of humankind when robots take over. Now, this is something that's obviously very hypothetical, but I really like the video because it talks about, first of all, the inevitability of it, because we will eventually be outnumbered, probably by virtual minds. I mean, that's just the truth. I mean, they will be able to reproduce much faster than we do. You just go through a factory and you create 50,000 of them in a day, and that's already, I mean, they don't have to wait 9 months. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, the title says "and animation" with a question mark, and that's exactly what I'm trying to get to. So what we have is we have this idea that artificial intelligence will become so good that all of our jobs are going to get replaced. Now, we already have artificial intelligence replacing a lot of manufacturing jobs. I mean, to a certain extent, it's programmable intelligence. And we have a lot of factory jobs, manufacturing jobs being taken over by robots. They have all these crazy mechanics and programs written to replace a typical factory worker, right? And that's going down. We also have a lot of things, coming up, like drivers. Truck drivers are soon going to be replaced. Not, within the next 5 years, but maybe in the next 10 years. It's going to start out with a pilot, in the seat with an auto-driving car. And then eventually, maybe that truck driver won't have to be there anymore. And then suddenly, we don't have a truck driver occupation. All the trucks are completely self-automated. Self-driving. So, to a certain degree, basically, artificial intelligence is so versatile that it will take over every single job, because it can be programmed to do every single job, hypothetically. So once it gets to that point, right, even right on the precipice of people being creative, maybe one day the only jobs available to humans are the creative jobs. But that won't last for long either. The creative jobs will be taken over. Someday we're going to watch movies made by computers, completely by artificial intelligence. You're going to have a robot director, right? Like Glitchbot from Overwatch. No, but like, in all honesty, you're going to have artwork created by machines. And eventually we'll be okay with that. We'll be like, okay, well, that's just that's just how it is, and we'll enjoy it, because maybe they'll be like, I like this particular robot's artwork because he has a different algorithm and he comes up with really cool movies and I like it. Similar to how we think about humans these days. We're like, these human directors, I like his style, I like his taste, right? That's not entirely out of the question. We're just gonna be okay with it. It's gonna be the normal thing. And when we consume all the entertainment and stuff like that, we won't have to do any jobs. We'll just be consuming. We'll be a consumer country, world, so to speak, and everything that produces stuff is going to be a robot. And then you wonder, this is the interesting thing. This includes animation, by the way. Animation can already be done by artificial intelligence to a certain degree. Not necessarily artificial intelligence, in terms of sentience and stuff like that, making these decisions, but rather simulating movement really, really well. We have these really cool simulated movements where you can have an algorithm create a walk cycle for you. But it's not just any walk cycle, it's physics-based walk cycle. So it already knows, like, it uses all the muscles. Imagine like an advanced quap being played by an AI, and it works because the AI knows exactly how to move the muscles in a realistic way, and the physics are all simulated with the arms and everything like that, as if we were a real thing. And once you add a little bit of AI and intelligence to that particular object, you could make an AI actor. You can make an actor that is artificially intelligent, and do the animation for you, quote unquote, by acting it out. You can just tell it what to do, right? Imagine one day we can just look at our Blender file and be like, and suddenly we're directors. We're not animators. We just go, hey, actor A, pick up that bucket, but look very sad when you do it, and then he'll do it. No questions asked. he's gonna do it, and he'll do it maybe even better than human actors. Maybe he'll add some squash and stretch to himself. Maybe he'll do all these sorts of things where they do that, and then suddenly you replace the director with another AI, and that's completely AI driven, right? So yes, animation is very, very likely to be replaced by AI. Not necessarily by the fact that an AI is going to hand animate things for you, but rather AI will become the animation. All animations will be driven by artificial intelligence, and that, like, by an actual sentience of some sort that can listen to commands and stuff like that and simulate its own movement. That would be very, very interesting. It's not the traditional kind of like the traditional sense of how, like, for example, music is being composed by AI, where they just kind of know the different combinations that are going to work well with each other, the different harmonization notes and stuff like that. But rather that you'll have a sentient thing inside the computer doing stuff for you. But anyway, moving on. If we have a situation where all of our jobs are taken, including the creative jobs, how is any of us going to make money? Especially since all we're going to be doing is spending money to consume entertainment, food, all that stuff, different various services. We're just going to be consuming. We're going to be consuming and not producing anything, so we don't have any income, right? If all we do is consume, we have no way of making money. So what do we do to with this society? How is this ever going to work? Well, you have the idea of basic universal income. So basic universal income is something that has been proposed several times in the past and kind of looked at like some sort of weird extreme socialism thing. But in reality, it's going to be completely necessary if we don't have jobs, right? That's going to be a really, really bad thing if none of us have any income but need to spend money. So what we have is we have the idea of this basic universal income, and it will be sourced and funded by the government. So the government is meant to provide for the civilians of its country, right? And the question is, how does this government make money? How does this government pay, its citizens? This basic universal income. Well, think about who's making all the money right now. All the people who own these robots that are producing content. These entertainment giants, they have like these entertainment robots. Maybe there's a human that owns them. Hell, maybe there's an AI that owns them. Who knows? Maybe they have rights, omnic rights, right? They have their own bank accounts and stuff, and they can make their own businesses. But let's say whoever owns these huge corporations that clearly have the resources to make this money through AI and robotics and stuff like that, they're the ones who have all the money. Like literally all the money in the world. If we didn't have basic universal income, they would have all the money. So what basic universal income does is it siphons the money out from those rich people and gives it to the government, not just through taxes, but through other things, and then gives it back to the people, the citizens. So one way it would work is there was this very interesting paper about extreme capitalism, which might be more accurate instead of socialism. It's more of extreme capitalism, where basically the government, what they do is, because, by the way, the government owns a lot of stuff. Even in capitalism, the government owns all the roads, all the government buildings. They own a lot of surface area. Let's just say that, right? So what if the government just took that area and suddenly sold that space for advertisement? Now, this is obviously a very extreme case, and that's why it's called extreme capitalism. But if that government sold that space for advertisement, they could sell that ad space to these big corporations that are making all the money. They're the ones who are paying for these ads, not the consumers, right? Obviously. So these business owners are paying for the ads, paying to the government, monthly revenue or whatever. It's just like every time someone sees it or whatever, they get CPM, all that stuff. So the government gets paid in ad revenue from these huge corporations. They sell out all this space, and what's gonna end up happening is, yes, we are gonna have this huge capitalistic society where we have advertisements everywhere, right? We'll be like, we'll drive on the road and we'll see McDonald's flyer, on the road instead of useful directions. But to a certain degree, it shouldn't impede our daily lives. It's there. And what these advertisements do is they fund our income. So those advertisements make the government enough money every month so that they can pay the citizens a certain amount every month, a basic income. So we could say, at least 30,000 a year, right? Something that you can live off of. That would be incredibly necessary in a world where there's no other source of income for people who can't work. They can't find jobs because robots do it better than us, right? So literally our only purpose in life is to enjoy life, right? Arguably, right? To enjoy life. Yeah, I would say that is one of the big solutions. And CGP Grey talks about the idea of basic universal income and talks about how we're all gonna, not have jobs and stuff like that. The extreme capitalism thing was something I read in a separate paper, but I think it's worth telling, because a lot of people ask, how is basic universal income gonna come to be? How is it gonna exist? Where is the money gonna come from? Like, who's gonna pay it? Are they just gonna tax the big people like crazy? No, it wouldn't work. It would have to be economically viable, otherwise these big corporations, who already, by the way, have a huge hand in our government policies, bribing them and stuff like that, corporations would never willingly do that, but they would willingly fork over money if it meant advertisements and stuff like that. So, more publicity, more of that stuff. So definitely something to keep in mind. It's pretty cool. But yes indeed. Let's see. Let's look at the chat real quick. We have a few interesting questions. Is this a time vortex? Yes, it is. I imagine so. It definitely seems like something. Feline Entity says, I personally don't think AI will ever overthrow humanity. We might be absolutely dependent on it, but I don't think it will ever become evil on its own. Very interesting point. Yeah, I think it being evil on its own is something that is very, very tricky. Like, is that ever going to happen? Becoming evil on its own requires it to have some sort of motivation to do so. I think iRobot brought about a very interesting point. Let's say if robots wanted to save humanity, this is a spoiler alert, by the way. If you haven't watched iRobot yet, just close your ears or turn away for like 5 seconds. If humanity, if robots were to look out for the best of humanity, and humanity continue to expand with its overpopulation as it does now, for robots, it is in humanity's best interest to perform population control. And population control is very unethical. I'm just saying. Population control can involve killing people. It can involve eugenics and selection. It can involve a bunch of stuff that ultimately are not okay in humans' eyes, right? But in a robot's eyes, for the long term, can be ethical, because you're saving humanity in the long run. But this robot can easily be seen as evil. A robot that is going to wipe out, 50% of the population, because humanity would be better without it, right? That's a huge gray area. And you would argue that robot does not think it's evil. The robot is not being evil, right, for evil's sake. And by definition, from my philosophy talk before about true evil versus, true good, I would say that true evil, it does not qualify for true evil. That is something that is a very, very gray level of evil. So, yeah, it's very possible. I think it's possible, especially with that line of reasoning. I don't know what you guys think, but yeah. AIs can't be programmed to do the right thing, just the best thing logically. Yeah, that is another thing. I can agree with that. I think AI is we'll have to know what humans are okay with before it can make any kind of decision like that. Surely it would be in the best interest of humanity for the robots to determine how to achieve space travel, though. That's a good point. The robots could try to come up with space travel, but we would have to program that into them. Be like, hey, be okay with space travel and prefer that over population control. Yeah, we would have to assume that they're sentient to a point. Yes, Tish Potato says, iRobot is an adaptation of some of the ideas of the Asimov books, but it didn't quite catch the key concept of Asimov's approach to his rules. We've incorporated the 3 laws into most of our domestic robots today, and yet the whole purpose of Asimov's books is that the 3 laws are broken and don't work. Oh, crap. Well, now we're screwed. But yeah, that's a very interesting point. Yeah, and the whole point of the 3 laws was that it would lead to exactly what happened at the end of the movie. It would lead to a robot being evil, essentially, and that is not okay. So I hope we took that to heart. Maybe they didn't read the whole book, but the whole series of books. What happens when a tool breaks? You will need to repair that tool with another tool. Well, what happens when that tool breaks? That's true. Yeah. I mean, you're saying basically that we will never lose jobs because humans will have to repair robots. I mean, there is a certain degree of truth to that, but at the same time, other robots can fix other robots just fine. I mean, humans are fixing other humans. You know, there's no one fixing us, right? Except for other humans. So that's not necessarily true. I would say that it's very possible that robots will just always repair other robots, and we won't ever have to be in it anymore after a certain point. So yeah. Also, AI is not the same everywhere, so unless every AI on the whole world suddenly decides to exterminate humanity, we can always just smash the ones that want to. Yes, unless that AI is a virtual program that can duplicate and reproduce itself over the web infinitely. That might not be good. Like Ultron, for example. They tried to kill him, and then he just duplicated himself into a shit ton of copies, and then they had to kill every single one, which was really hard. So, yeah, I don't even know how they did that. I can't remember, but yeah. But AI could always be shut down if they were to go to war. EMP is real. That's true. EMP is a good point. I like that idea because EMP is something that we have in our arsenal that doesn't affect us, but affects AI. So I can agree with that. I would say EMP is a very strong weapon that we have against AI. Something that we can definitely rely on in the future. So yeah. Also, Jobel King. There is no universal good and evil. It's all perspective. I would disagree. Because I've talked about this before, and universal is a good word for it. I talk about it like true good and true evil, but universal good and evil is essentially the same definition. Just to review on that, right? Let's talk about good and evil for a second, especially since we're on the topic of AI being evil, right? What is true good and what is true evil? This is my personal opinion, and I've thought about it for a while, and hopefully it resonates with you as well. If not, feel free to disagree. Basically, true good. Well, let's talk about true evil first. What is true evil? True evil is something where one person, let's just talk about this person, right? Let's say one person specifically does deeds that are intentionally detrimental to other people's lives for their own pleasure, right? This is something that a lot of people would define as a sociopath or a psychopath, someone who takes pleasure out of other people's misery, right? That is, in my definition, true evil. It is universal evil because it is universally agreed upon that everybody who comes into contact with this person can agree that this person is evil because that person is not benefiting anyone but themselves and purposefully hurting other people. That is evil. Now, what is true good? Well, it's probably the exact opposite of that, right? True good is where someone, at the expense of themselves, benefits as many people as they can. That is arguably true good, right? At the expense of themselves, they benefit everyone else. That is the definition of true good. So everything in between is a gray area, right? So there's good where it's like, you know, at the benefit of myself and other people, I will commit these good deeds, which is great. That's there's nothing wrong with that. It's still good. You could argue it's not true good, but it's still good. But that's, by the way, martyrdom, you know, martyrs and stuff like that can be argued as like, oh, that's true good, right? Sacrificing your actual life for something that's for the betterment of whatever humanity is obviously considered true good. Now you have, you know, various levels of good with you know, benefiting yourself to blah blah blah, or you know, benefiting yourself with no benefit to anyone else. That's kind of like a neutral good, right? You just benefit yourself, but you don't hurt anyone. You know, it's fine. And then you have neutral evil. I don't know if there's neutral evil. Basically, if you if there's no benefit to yourself, but it harms other people, that's kind of a weird evil. I don't even know how that would be. But one thing that's very interesting, if it benefits you but it hurts other people, that is a very, very gray area of evil, right? Because that's where you get into the idea of it's not evil because he's doing it for himself, or he's doing it for other people, right? You could be like, he's trying to benefit other people by hurting other people. That is very evil compared to the people for the people who are getting hurt, but not evil at all for the people who are being benefited, right? Well, to a certain degree, depending on their philosophy. But yeah, ultimately, that's just going to be like, okay, thanks for the help. Not, oh, screw you, you're just prioritizing them over us. Why us? That doesn't make any sense. So yeah, that's my definition of universal good and evil. So hopefully that sheds some light on my perspective. But hey, Selim Ali, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. Is this a game? No, not really. Just me talking about stuff. But yes. Most people argue that AI will take over most jobs, but no one considered that we might not need to work in the future since bots can do and learn anything nowadays in the near future. Yes, that's exactly what I was talking about. Yeah, that's the thing. People are so worried about AI taking our jobs, but guess what? Once AI takes all of our jobs, we don't have to work, and we'll get a basic universal income to survive, ideally. And life will be great. Life will be wonderful. We won't have to spend our days sitting at a desk or going to a dangerous job like a factory or an oil rig or whatever to pay the bills, because we could just, pay the bills. It's fine. But yeah. Yes. I had to stop watching Steven Universe in order to come here. Oh, well. I hope you enjoyed the stream today. Today is going to be mostly talking about artificial intelligence and its implications. So yeah, Overwatch really brings up this issue nicely. That's very true, Stellum. That's a very good point. Overwatch talks specifically about omnic rights and AI kind of becoming indistinguishable from humans, right? So yeah, I think evil AI will just be made from some genius that hates other people. That's a good point. Yes. It takes one bad person, and we already know there are evil hackers. There are people in reality who are very, very smart and will do things detrimental to other people, either for the fun of it, or because they're paid to, or because they really, really hate other people. So yeah, that is a worst case scenario, as Nyash has mentioned. You always consider the worst case scenario because it's a good thing to do. That's true. That is true. But you also have to prepare on how to achieve the best case scenario, and that's something that is a proactive form of kind of prevention, right? I think that's what I like to do as well. Know the worst case scenario, but also try for the best case scenario, and that's two sides of the same coin. You can't just do one or the other, right? If you only try for the best scenario and don't prepare for the worst case scenario, you're screwed. If you only care about the worst case scenario and you're just like, I'm gonna have to prepare to prevent that, you're not gonna get much better than that. I mean, that's just the truth, right? You're like, no matter what, I'm not gonna get expelled from school, right? Just worst case scenario, I get expelled from school. I'm gonna do everything I can not to be expelled from school, and then you don't focus on grades, you don't focus on anything, and then you're just like, okay, so I didn't get expelled, great, but I didn't pass either, so failed. I failed out of school. So that's not something that you want to do. You want to be like, okay, I'm not going to get expelled, worst case scenario, and I will get all A's, right? And then you have something that's a best case scenario. If you only get all A's but you just break all the rules, then you're going to get expelled. So there's that just kind of a balancing of preparation. But yeah, Overwatch brings it up very nicely because Overwatch talks about omnic rights, and so let's talk about emotion, right? Artificial intelligence and emotion is a very interesting topic because emotions are arguably not something to take lightly. It's not something that everybody would say is totally possible to achieve with AI. It's hard to say. What do you guys think? Do you think AI can become emotional? Do you think artificial emotions is going to happen, or do you think it's something that will just seem like emotions but is really just fake or whatever? I mean, you could argue that's the truth for everyone, but who knows? Right? The one thing I find interesting about emotions is that emotions are triggered by hormones, right? For in human beings, emotions are triggered by different hormones that we feel, dopamine or whatever, that reward us or punish us for what our actions are. It's a physiological thing. It's not actually a psychological thing. It's physiological. So if emotions are physiological, why would a robot feel it? How would a robot feel it? It would just be, I don't know. It would just be artificially induced. It would just be like a function, the happy function, and suddenly it's happy. It'd be interesting. It would have to call it itself, which I guess is still very possible. But it would have to be able to recognize what makes me happy, what makes me sad, before it could do that. And it's just a weird thing. It would have to be. I guess it's the closest thing to instinct as you can get. But anyway. Theoanty says, I also quite believe that the actual future of humans and AI is not something we can actually imagine. It's so hard to keep up with the news about AI and where it works and where it doesn't, so robots will just be a part of our own evolution. That's another thing too. Yeah, so here we have the idea that robots and humans kind of blend together, right? Singularity. That's so. Yeah. Okay. Hang on. I think AI doesn't benefit from emotions from the human's perspective. I would disagree. I think they definitely would, but only the good ones. Yeah. It is a bit psychological. It's mostly hormones. I mean, I believe the brain is the one that calls the hormones to the brain, though. So I mean, you could argue it is technically mental, neurological. Yeah. Aren't emotions in the heart just chemical reactions? It might be possible to replicate that. Yeah, I mean, the chemical reaction, I mean, you can definitely replicate the effects, but not the actual hormones themselves. Yeah. Yeah. Chappie has feelings, that's true. I didn't actually watch that movie, by the way. I thought it was good. Yeah. But, anyway. I thought it was going to be good. I never watched it. Is it getting louder to me, or is it just me? Emotions are also based off of memory from our previous experiences. Yes, that's true. That is very true. Robo-puberty. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, maybe at some point, robots will go through this weird stage of growth. But I will say, puberty, so let's just talk about puberty for a second. The reason why puberty is such a weird time of our lives is not that it was, programmed to be weird for us. It wasn't there for us to be like, oh, like what? I don't know what's going on. We have to have this growing period where we just immediately think we're just crazy. But no, that's not what puberty was made for. Puberty, I'm not assuming intelligent design. Puberty was not created as some sort of transition period mentally for us to have to go through and make a bunch of mistakes and stuff. Puberty is only the side effect of our brain growing at different rates. So, and our body, of course. So when we grow, when we mature from child to adult, it includes our brain developing as well. So our brain doesn't fully develop until after puberty, and arguably until after we're 25 years old. That's what some people say, right? So in terms of puberty and the way we act and stuff like that from puberty, it's not something that is at all necessary. It's really just because our brains develop one part of our brain faster than the other. So for example, I read a really cool example of why do we get so obsessed about being cool? Popularity when we're in our teenage years and stuff like that. Why do we care so much about that? Well, that's because the part of our brain that cares about that grows faster than the part of our brain that tells us that it's not important. So we actually have just an imbalance in our brain that's where our brain just cares more because that part of the brain is too powerful. We can't pull it back. We can't not care because the part of our brain that tells us not to care about that hasn't been fully developed yet, and develops actually a little bit later than that part of the brain that cares. So that's just an interesting tidbit of information in case you guys didn't know. But yeah, we wouldn't have to go through that at all for robots. We would just immediately make them adults. No need for a child phase at all. Yeah, hypothetically. You think most AI would be modeled after humans in our way of thought, so emotions, definitely. I guess it all boils down to the way of implementation. Yeah, bro, man, I agree. I think the way of implementation is definitely something that will be looked at as we go into the future. If we don't implement it properly, we could very well destroy the entire world. I mean, the moment we put emotions into the hands of a robot that also has nuclear codes, well, we're gonna be pretty screwed, right? I mean, everybody's already so worried about Trump, but having the nuclear codes, because he's he's an emotional guy. Whether you like him or not, you have to admit that he is driven very strongly by emotions. He lashes out about things like sad, angry, whatever. But all that stuff is worrisome because emotions play into anti-logic, right? emotions counter logic almost directly. They can be used in tandem with each other, of course. But the fact that somebody is very emotional automatically tells you it's like, okay, that person's not as logical, right? And once you get into that, and you have the situation where you have life-threatening power, weapons of mass destruction, then it becomes really, really scary. So, yeah. I mean, if Trump can have them, is a robot any more dangerous? Lol. That's a good point. So yeah. That depends. Who knows? Trump has a little bit of humanity at the very least. We can agree that, at the very least, he can be like, I'm human and I don't want other humans to die. Robots may not have that kind of empathy. Robots will be like, okay, I'm robot and these humans are going to die. Why should I care? Why do humans care if robots die, right? We would have to program all that shit in there. So, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Maz. Yeah. This is why you always make backups. Yeah. Okay, so here's another thing I want to talk about. By the way, Mr. Phoenix Master, thanks for following. I want to talk about this in particular. So I was segueing into this earlier, but I got sidetracked. Basically, once humanity and artificial intelligence become one, so to speak, once they become indistinguishable from each other. So let's say artificial intelligence is so good, it can simulate every neuron in the human brain. And everything that we can do, they can do better, right? Let's just assume that for now. Well, I'm drinking some water at the same time because I'm human and I need to moisten my throat. But, yeah, so basically, once humans and AI become indistinguishable from each other and the possibilities kind of merge, humans will want to transfer their minds into AI. That's something that is completely possible once we get to that point, because it would be indistinguishable. So you just be like, okay, upload all my memories and personality onto this computer, who also has all these, all the neurons that I have anyway. So it's like it's and maybe I'll even be even smarter and I'll have access to the web, constantly, and I'll be Googling things in my mind and all that shit. So, yeah, can brains be transferred into artificial intelligence? Yes, I mean, they would be able to, essentially. So, it's a pretty scary thought, but it's totally possible. But anyway, knowing that, we have the consciousness debate, right? But also it's like, okay, so what if humans do become artificial intelligence? Then AI and humans, you're not going to know the difference, because an AI could just be a human uploaded to the AI, so they have all the same personality traits and everything like that. Is that something that you guys would want to do? Is this something that you guys would want to be a part of, becoming an AI? Would you guys, I have a question for you guys, would you guys want to become an AI instead of dying, for example, because we would just live forever in a computer, on the internet, on my phone, which is beeping, Would you guys be interested in doing that? I think, personally, I would. I think I would be down for putting my brain into a computer. I think it'd be awesome. I think, I mean, let's just talk about, aside from immortality, you also have this amazing access to all this information, and I would love to be a ghost in the shell looking mofo. Yeah, that's true. You could put yourself in any body that you want, anybody, right? Especially with AI, you could put yourself in anybody. Now, ghost in the shell is a brain inside of a robotic body, so she actually has a real brain. But if we were to have an AI brain, that's totally different. Very, very, or does she have an AI brain? I don't know. Actually, I don't remember. Soma. What is Soma? What is Soma? So who is you? The AI or you? Yeah. So that's the thing. Wait, hang on. Let me read this real quick. Have you seen the game called Soma? It's an interesting game where you are a person uploaded into a robot. You are one of many experiments like it. It is a pretty interesting horror game that talks about what makes a human human. It also has to do with the world coming to an end, and we all upload our subconscious into a giant computer that we launch into space so that we live for thousands of years afterward, but we aren't really human. Interesting. That is very interesting, Dr. Bro. Yeah. So Soma seems like a very interesting idea of kind of the worst case scenario of that situation where, yeah, we aren't really human, and once we do that, it's true. You can argue maybe emotions aren't fully programmed. You know, that would suck. But what I haven't obviously I just heard about that game, but I'd be interested in playing it because you know, it brings up a lot of good questions. Yeah. And you're underwater. Oh hell yeah, I gotta play that game. But yeah, so yeah, the question is, would you still be human if you were to do that? That's a good question. I don't know what you guys think, but Feline brings up a good question. Then who is still in your body? Who is you? Is you the AI or the guy in your human body? Because let's say, just for example, if we were to upload our consciousness to the computer, we're not deleting our brains. Our brain would still be there. Let's say we have a human. Let's say I go into the lab right now, right? I'm dillongoo. Hi, nice to meet you. Oh, hello. We're gonna upload your brain to this AI consciousness. Okay, great. Just sit on this chair, and then press the button. Now, when you press the button, what you're really doing is you're just copying it, right? Every computer function now that involves like moving something to a different folder, they copy it first and then just delete the old one. That's all it is. You know, there's no, like, it's not like in the real world we physically move something. Like I can move my phone from here to here, right? And that phone itself just moved over there. But in the digital world, we would actually just take this phone, and because we can't move it physically, we would duplicate the phone, make another phone, and then delete the first phone. So you had two phones at some point. See what I'm saying? So let's say we had someone trying to upload their consciousness to an AI. Yeah, Feeling Entity brings up the other question. If you delete the old one, do you die? So here's the thing. When you upload your consciousness to an AI, you are essentially making a copy. So if you don't kill the human being, suddenly there's two versions of you. Twins, so to speak, because let's be real, if you have two twins, they're essentially the same person at birth, right? But they diverge into their own paths and experiences, so they grow up differently. But if you were to take a person and then split them into two copies of themselves later on in life, they would still be twins in a way, in terms of the fact that after that point they'll have two different lives. So let's say you do that, and suddenly you have two people that are identical, right? Both genetically and mentally. But after that point, they have different experiences. So there is that. So maybe you could be here as the human, and you don't want to get deleted afterwards, right? So you just keep existing as a human, and then you have a copy of yourself as an AI. And to that AI's perspective, that AI used to be human. So that from the AI's perspective, they woke up as a computer, and it's like, oh, cool, I got uploaded, right? So you have kind of a 50-50 chance of becoming the new one or the old one, really, when you wake up. That's a very, very weird thought. So now that you know that, now that you understand that concept, what happens if you delete the first one, right? So what happens if you take the first human and you kill him, right? Essentially, that's what you're doing. If you delete his brain, if you delete all the data in his brain and use his body for something else, his brain is gone. You've quote unquote moved his consciousness over to the AI. Now here's the thing. As I mentioned before, there's actually two perspectives here, not just one. There's the perspective of the AI who just woke up as an AI and it's like, oh cool, I used to be human, now I'm here. Successful upload. And then there's the human whom, if you didn't kill him, would just wake up as a human and be like, oh cool, I see the AI's in the computer, successful upload. Now that human, if you deleted his brain, his perspective would cease to exist. Just like if he died, it would just cease to exist. So you could argue that that human is dead. His consciousness died, it ended right there. And that is the definition of death, right? You could just be like, from his point of view, let's say it was you, right? Let's say you guys, let's say you, listening to me right now, went to the doctor, and pediatrician, whatever, and he just has, let's upload your AI, and you go in there and you wonder, are you gonna wake up as the new AI, or are you never gonna wake up again? And that's a really, really hard question. Like that's a hard question. The AI that wakes up is not you per se, and we know that because we know that if we didn't delete you in real life, if we didn't delete the human would wake up as a separate entity, right? As a separate consciousness from the AI. So it's a completely different entity. The AI is a different entity. That's I think indisputable, right? So if you would have to wonder, am I gonna wake up as the AI, or am I going to never wake up again? And that's a really scary thought, even when you're trying to, especially when you're trying to become immortal, right? It's like, oh, I want to live forever, but I could also die. So that's really scary. Someone else is like, what if you took a copy of an AI, then save it and repurpose the copy? Yeah, you could do that, right? You could copy yourself, and you could kind of create a copy of yourself, not to preserve yourself forever, but to just literally just, like, I could copy myself over and then have like 4 Dylans animating at the same time, right? That'd be great. That'd be wonderful. I would love that. And then you go into the whole ethics thing. It's like, well, what about the Dylans in the computer? Do they have rights? You know, is the human Dylan the master of all the 4 Dylans? Are those 4 Dylans okay with that? Are they going to want to do their own thing? Do they want their own identity? Do they want their own names? Because they are just as human as I am, because they are me. Would I be okay with that if I became the slave to myself? Why is it that just because, you know, if I woke up as one of the AI, right, or if the AI woke up and it was like, oh, I'm Dylan, but I'm an AI now, right, with the same personality and everything, and I'm like, well, it's just luck that I became an AI. Like, why couldn't I just, you know, statistics say I could have easily just woken up as a human as well. Like, technically consciousness, right? You could be like, I had just as many odds to wake up as a different one of the Dylans, right? So why is it that just because I woke up as an AI that I get less rights? You know, why would I have less rights as the human Dylan? That's not fair. I'm just as human as he is. I experienced everything that he did. We share the same memories up until this point. So yeah. In Soma, people killed themselves immediately after being uploaded in hopes they magically wake up in the uploaded device when it is activated. That's a very interesting idea. I don't think it would work, but yeah, that's a very, very interesting idea. That's very possible. People might do that, you know, in that kind of universe. Yeah. Dr. Bro says, as soon as a copy is made, the original and the copy for a second are the same person, but as soon as that is over, they are 2 different people with 2 different experiences, like a tree growing into 2 different branches, splitting into 2. Yes, that's exactly what I was talking about. Yeah, the twins kind of thing, the twins theory. We could also delete the sad parts of our digital minds, but how much of us is that then? That's another good point. Yeah, replacing your memories and stuff like that. But I want to talk about yeah. So how would we solve the idea that we become the AI that we upload, not just get deleted, right? How would that be possible? How can we actually achieve that, as opposed to doing this way, right, where one of us has to die? Well, here's one thing. You have the axe paradox, right? I think it's the new axe, or the grandpa axe paradox. I don't know, whatever it's called. Let's say you have an axe, right? It's a known paradox. I forgot who wrote it, but basically, let's say you have an axe, and it's your grandfather's axe, right? He gave it to you years ago, and it's like it's family heirloom or whatever. And as you use the axe for 10 whatever years, 20 years, you realize that the axe is actually just it's wearing out a little bit, right? It's getting a little old. Doesn't really have the same strength as it did before. The wood is rotting a little bit, or maybe actually let's just say that the head is getting a little blunt, right? So you take the axe, and you replace the axe head with a brand new axe head. It's still your grandpa's axe. It has, you know, the same handle, but the axe head is gonna get replaced because it's just a little, it's getting worn down. So you want to replace the axe head. Now you have a brand new axe head on your family heirloom axe, right? It's like, oh, hey, look, it's the one where it's the same axe. Let's just cut. I'm cutting the tree with my axe. This is my axe, the same axe, right? Cool. Now let's say 10 years later, the wood starts rotting, and you're like, oh, this handle, it's getting really, really old, and I can't use this handle anymore. It's gonna break off. Hell, even it broke. The handle broke. But let's repair the handle. Let's take the handle. Let's replace the handle with a new wooden handle. Great, excellent. This is brand new wooden handle, really smooth. Attach it to the same axe head that I had before, which, you know, was grandpa's axe, you know, and now you have a brand new axe. And guess what? This axe no longer has any part of the old axe. Any part at all. You have a new axe head and a new axe handle. And yet you call it the same thing. You're like, oh, this is grandpa's axe. But is it though? That's the real question. That's the paradox. Is it still your grandpa's axe? But you could argue that, you know, it is, right? So yeah. So here's that paradox applied to our dilemma, right? The AI dilemma, right? Transferring your consciousness into an AI. How is this going to work? So here's how it goes, right? you have a person, and they have a brain, a physical brain. How do we slowly create an AI out of that brain? Well, one thing that we can try to do, is we can start replacing parts of the brain. And you can argue that this will eventually make that person fully AI without killing them. You could argue that. I mean, I think it could work ultimately, right? Philosophically, it might be kind of confusing, but from the point of view from the consciousness, it could work, and that's all that matters, really, in my opinion. So, yeah. So let's just say, let's take the frontal lobe, right? We're gonna cut out your frontal lobe and replace it with this fully replicated frontal lobe. You know, it has hardware and everything, but it does everything your frontal lobe does. And we're going to copy everything from your frontal lobe to this frontal lobe. But this frontal lobe is made of electronics, and we'll hook it up to all the things that it's supposed to hook up to. And now once you hook all that stuff up, it's that's your new frontal lobe. Now you keep living your life with that frontal lobe hooked up with the rest of your memories and the rest of your brain, the rest of your consciousness, and now you're still fine. You're working just fine. I could have an artificial frontal lobe right now, right? And it does all the same things as my frontal lobe does. Great, good job. Except it also connects to the internet. Just like, yeah, no, but yeah, it does all the things that it's supposed to do, and it integrates with my mind seamlessly, right? Let's just say that. Great, and then 5 years later, you're like, okay, well, time to make the next step. All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and replace your cerebellum, right? And they do that, and they do exactly the same thing. Everything is in order. Everything's working, seamless, totally seamless. And then over time, you replace the entire brain. The last part of your organic brain gets completely replaced by the last thing. Well, that's the thing. Is that the part where you die? I don't know. So let's see. If this works or doesn't work depends on if that last part of your brain really contains so much of you that you will not be able to have consciousness anymore. So let's say you have let's say the last part of your brain is just your amygdala, right? Just the brainstem or whatever, and it doesn't really contain that much consciousness at all. It's just kind of like instinctual fear or whatever. So you take that out and you replace it. Great. So you could argue that the last part maybe it wasn't too important. Maybe the part the icky part is the part where they took out the part with your consciousness in it, arguably. Then is that the part where you die, or do you die the very moment you start switching part of your brain in there? It's very hard to tell. Yeah, so this is the same discussion as people have with teleportation. The exact same discussion. People will get destroyed if their atoms get destroyed, right? But if you teleport someone and rebuild their atoms later on, are they dead? Yeah, it's a very, very hard question. It stops being the grandpa axe when the minutes you change the blade to me. The thing is, at some point in the process, what is this noise? God, I feel like I'm crashing into the sun. But yes. Shh. Peacefulness. Okay. So, yeah, basically. So the thing is, at some point in the process, you're going to change something that fundamentally changes the operation of the original. Yeah, so that's interesting. So that would argue that the moment you put the first piece of AI brain in your brain, then it would no longer be you. So you already died. But did you though? Because it's only partial, right? It's only partially not you. So that's a big question. Also, I want to address the thing that Feline said earlier about how every 7 years or whatever someone becomes a new person. That doesn't really apply to the brain though. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the brain actually stays pretty much the same atoms, but the rest of your body does. The rest of your body gets replaced pretty easily. But anyway, oh man, yeah. So let's talk about teleportation too. Actually, Broman says that would depend where the consciousness is stored. The entire brain as a whole or a small part. Yeah, we actually don't know that for sure. I don't think. Last I checked, we weren't sure as a the scientific community didn't really know where consciousness resided, but we do know where like language presides and all that stuff. So that's pretty interesting. But I'm pretty sure overall it's the whole thing. But things like our own inner voice, like those are controlled by our language processing part of the brain. But that doesn't mean that that's our consciousness, right? When we talk to ourselves in our minds, that's just it's a culmination. We talk through that point, but it's the culmination of our entire minds that create our consciousness. So anyway, yeah, good question. Good question. Hey, Blue Tiger, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. But yeah, the body except the brain is replaced if a brain cell dies. You can't get it back. Yeah, that's true. But anyway, so let's talk about teleportation too, because that's also deals with the copy or whatever. It's exactly the same issue as when you transfer your mind into an AI. Are you the copy? Are you gonna wake up as the copy? Or are you gonna wake up as the original? For teleportation, man, I wish I could. How many of you guys have seen Prestige? The Christopher Nolan film. I don't want to spoil it. So if you guys haven't watched Prestige, it's one of my favorite movies actually. I would love to talk about it a little bit more. Also, Lee, hello. I really enjoy your streams. Thanks, man. I'm glad you do. I'm glad you do. Yeah. But anyway, so if we have this teleportation problem, right? You haven't. I think everyone has. Yeah, not everyone has. It is. By the way, it is a very, very good movie. Yeah, very good movie. I highly recommend you watch it. It's about two magicians, not musicians, two magicians, Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale. They're rivals, and they kind of it's back in the Victorian era, so it's really, really cool. And, or not Victorian era. Tesla was alive at that. Was that Victorian? I don't know, but it's in America, and there's two magicians who are fighting. Rivals against each other in terms of getting the best show and doing the best trick or whatever. So yeah, it was Batman and Wolverine, exactly. Yeah. So it has basically has an interesting dilemma. Feline, that's a spoiler, no spoilers. But yes, it's a really, really good movie, and it deals with a lot of these issues as well, which I won't explain why or how, but you should watch it. But yes. Anyway, you should go watch it. Christopher Nolan, good stuff. But let's talk about teleportation, right? So if you do teleport and you don't kill the original, right, then you're basically gonna create a copy of yourself. And the truth is that you and the original both have their own experiences after you get copied, right? You will both have your own experiences immediately after you exist. So yeah, it'd be an interesting dilemma when you have to kill the original, because that is very unethical, right? You're killing people. Every time you kill the original, you're killing people. And that's just that's very, very unethical, It's the epitome of murder. So yeah, how would teleportation work? Let's talk about it. So just like we talked about how AI would be the most, how to most effectively transfer your mind into an AI. Let's talk about how to most effectively transfer your body through a teleportation thing. Well, I would argue that a wormhole in space would probably be the most guaranteed way to preserve your actual body, right? Your actual consciousness. I would say that would be guaranteed that you have the same atoms, so that's nice. But if you can't do that, if you have to transport atoms in some way, then like Star Trek, right? They beam you up or whatever. It's arguable that it will never become ethical. Really, it just won't. I agree with Feline, where it's like, okay, who says we'll have the same ethics in a few thousand years? And that's true. We could just rule it out and be like, it's fine. But who knows? Who knows, really? That's a really, really good question. Now, if you were to move the atoms physically through space, let's say someone disintegrates you and then physically sucks up all your atoms and then just moves all the atoms at the speed of light to wherever you want to be, and then you rematerialize. Well, that's, first of all, probably not very efficient, because you're moving pounds, 200 pounds or 300 pounds. I'm pretty big. I'm 6'1", so that's a lot of weight to move all the way over there to wherever you want to be, and at the speed of light too. That's not very efficient. Probably a lot slower than just taking a car. because you have to move, like, in order to actually reach those speeds, you probably have to move each atom like one by one. So that's going to take forever. But at least with our current technology. But yes, I would say that would that mean that you still die? Maybe not. You know, maybe teleporting your entire atoms over there physically and then reassembling you might be okay ethically. And then maybe that's where we're gonna go in that direction. Dr. Bro mentions 2 ways of teleportation: wormhole, not death; quantum entanglement, death; transporting atoms, death. 3. Okay, 3 ways. Great. Okay. So yeah, 3 ways. So quantum entanglement. That's referring specifically to atoms being reassembled in a different place, but not with your atoms, with different atoms. Yeah. It's hard to say. But yeah, wormholes, man. Wormholes would be nice. That's the thing. Currently on how a copy of yourself would be you or another's you. Yeah. It's a good question. It's a good question. Yeah. You kill a people and create one. In the future, it would be a common thing. Yeah, Alvara, that's a good point. In the future, it might be considered just totally normal, and people are like, whatever, it's fine. Neko says, well, what happens when you kill the original? After you are copied to the AI, is that dying to become immortal? Yes, it might be the price to pay, you know, for some people. Who knows? Who knows? Another thing, actually, that's a really cool idea. Yeah, let's get back onto artificial intelligence. I agree. So let's talk about artificial intelligence. Something that might be ethical, and this might actually be a good way to compromise all these problems. For the ethics of transferring your mind into an artificial intelligence copy of yourself. What if we only allowed doctors to do that for patients over the age of, like, 65 or 70 or about to die in some way? If we knew that they were unhealthy, that their body was terminally ill people or whatever, what if we only allowed people to do that? Would that be more ethical? Because let's say they're about to die anyway, right? Let's say there's a terminally ill cancer patient. They're about to die, and instead of dying by natural causes, they're like, okay, I'm about to die anyway, upload me to a computer. Just upload me to a computer, and you'll have, this new sort of consciousness, and your old person was going to die anyway, so it's like, okay, is there a downside to that? I don't know. What do you guys think? All right, you guys want a slightly different GIF, eh? Let me see if I can get something that's good for you. Yes, this will be good. But yeah, what do you guys think? I would prefer swirls. Fair enough. Let me get the this image here. It's actually possible to copy yourself, but it's illegal. There's copying cats, dogs. Yeah, those are clones. Although I would argue that clones would not have the same consciousness, the same memories as you. They would already have separate memories starting from the moment they were born. So that's a little bit of a different issue, I would say. I would argue. Okay. Whoa! Hang on. Let me do this. There we go. That kind of works. How's that? Is that better? LOL. JF. It's a GIF. You don't say giraffe, do you? Giraffe. It's a giraffe, not a giraffe, guys. Dylan, I think this would be a good way to do it. I agree. So something where it's like only terminally ill people can do it. I think that would be a good compromise between what we have. So yeah, I think that'd be interesting. Not bad at all. But then you have the idea of, okay, well, is it unethical to limit the number of people who are going into this immortality thing? Because let's say someone dies from a car accident, and they never got the chance to go and upload their consciousness, then at that point, is it unethical to prevent them from even doing it in the first place, from not making it legal? I think at the very least you should be over 18, right? But so that you can make that decision for yourself. But yeah, I mean, I think you would just have to make the decision for yourself. That's something that is like plastic surgery, you know. Don't say Jeff Kaplan, Geff Kaplan. Let's talk about the pronunciation of Jiff. I'm just kidding. Graphic Park. Jurassic Park. Yes. It's GIF, not GIF. I've been saying GIF for all my life. You can't possibly convince me to say GIF now. Let's not talk about this. But okay, so yeah, Tish, I literally just looked it up on Giphy. Ugh, Giphy, Jiffy. Anyway, so yeah, so in terms of uploading your consciousness, I think right when you're about to die would be a good idea. Another option is to, I wonder, and this may not actually be true or possible, but I wonder if we can actually take dead brains and upload their consciousness. You guys should watch Gurren Lagann, by the way, because that's also great. But let's say, well, is it going to be ethical to revive a dead person? So let's say, hypothetically, when a brain dies, sure, a lot of their brain cells die and stuff like that. But let's say we could go in there and figure out what state they were in, so we can kind of get the memories and stuff like that out of it, right? Hypothetically, what if we could upload that consciousness to a computer? Would that be ethical? Would that be ethical? I think. Do you want zombies? Because this is how you get zombies. Yeah. Well, the thing is, they wouldn't have a brain. They wouldn't have a body. They would not have a body. Yeah. Sir Clodmus, welcome. The no exact copy theorem would shut this down because the original person would have to change, then the copy would change, and it would keep going back and forth until they are mush. Oh, interesting. What does that mean exactly? Could you expand on that, Sir Clodmus? Hey, actual site, welcome to the stream, man. Welcome back. Haven't seen you in a while. Gurren Lagann is an anime and it's great. Yeah, or should I say Gurren Lagann? I'm just kidding. It's a joke. Oh, Tish, you found a good one. Well. Let's see. Oh, that's very swirly. Does it loop infinitely? Oh yes. Oh yes, please. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I want this so bad. Okay. Okay, thank you, Tish. I'm gonna use this actually. Okay. Anyway, can you upload this podcast on like iTunes? I've never actually used that before. I've never used iTunes. Yeah, just iTunes in general. Never used it. No, it's I mean, it's a possibility. I could consider it. I've never actually considered it before. So, oh man, I wish this wasn't as grainy. Surely there's a high definition version of this, right? Anyway. Is this only on Twitch? No, it's on YouTube as well. If we would be able to revive people, it would get really busy in the world, wouldn't it? What would it, though? What if we only had people artificially resurrected in the computer, so they didn't have a body, so we wouldn't have to worry about the bodies? But yeah, so, okay, here's another possibility, right? What if, when people died, instead of dying, they could choose to I mean, they would still die, but instead of just dying, they would also upload their consciousness of their dying body onto the computer to live out the rest of eternity in a virtual world, right? Let's say we have Second Life, but, you know, actually a Second Life, you know? That would be pretty cool. I mean, that'd be pretty cool in my opinion. I'm already loving virtual reality how it is now. And in the future, if we were to just, instead of dying, we literally live in an afterlife, you know, of a virtual world where we can do anything, you know? It is an afterlife. That is the definition of an afterlife, isn't it? You put their consciousnesses into a virtual world, and that virtual world, they have, you know, different laws, different properties. That'd be crazy. That would be really, really cool. If you could siphon their brain for knowledge, hell yes. Imagine having a USB stick with Einstein in it. Oh yeah, that would be amazing. Unfortunately, they cut up Einstein's brain, but yeah, that would be really cool. But yeah, man, imagine if you could upload your consciousness when you died, but you only had to upload it after you died. That would be a really, really good compromise as well. Not even just for the terminally ill, but for everyone. Where after you died, as long as your brain was intact, you could upload your consciousness to a computer and continue living in a virtual world without any kind of body or whatever. That's fine. You have a virtual body, so it feels real. I don't know. I mean, I'd be down to try that sometime. I don't know about you guys. But yes. Yes. Oh yeah, I'm all over these types of discussions. Well, I'm glad you are. I'm glad you are. We can definitely talk all day about this. I love talking about all sorts of things. In fact, I want to have more of these GooCasts in the future. And if we do, I have a few other ideas. One thing I want to talk about, which I don't want to talk about today just because I don't want to get too off topic, but something that I've really been thinking about and considering and just talking about in general with some friends of mine, family. If you have, it's the idea of a simulated universe. Are we living in a simulated universe? That is a really good question and a hard question to answer because it's unfalsifiable. But it's a very strong idea because it has a lot of evidence for it. But I won't get into that. Basically, like, a lot of people are saying nowadays that, like, statistically we're more likely to be living in a simulated universe because it only takes one real universe with an intelligence with an intelligent being smart enough to create simulated universes. So yeah, very interesting. Man, it's fun to listen to this. I'm glad you like it, Nadia. Glad you like it. But yeah, it says a virtual world can get hacked, says Miguel, and also living forever isn't fun either. That sounds like a sure way to a hive mind. Oh yeah, that's a good point. And is that a bad thing? So here's the thing about the hive mind idea. Has anybody watched Psychopaths? And have you? I don't want to spoil Psychopaths, but there's definitely a lot of interesting ideas that come with a hive mind. If we were to have a literal hive mind where we could have everyone who's ever died, literally our ancestors, coming together to help make decisions for us. You know, we have all the artificial intelligence in our past just coming together and making decisions based on their history, what they know, what they experienced, into this kind of this decision making process. That would actually arguably not be a bad thing. You know, if they were there to actually contribute to our government and to contribute to all these other things. And I think that would be a really cool idea. You should watch Psychopaths if you haven't already. It's very interesting anime. I won't spoil it for you, but yeah, I just randomly brought it up. Basically, so yeah, and you also say living forever isn't fun either. I would argue against that. There's a lot of people who say living forever is not fun. It's like common philosophy to go against the idea that living forever is great because, you know, for the longest time, everybody thought living forever was the ideal situation. Everybody wanted to be immortal, you know. And then suddenly it became cool to be like, no, living forever sucks. You have Tuck Everlasting, where they talk about immortality being terrible. You got Twilight talking about immortality being terrible. But like, you know, immortality is something that is, you could say it's a blessing and a curse. You're like, it's a curse because you can never really escape it. And also, all your friends and family die around you. Right? They just disappear. That's assuming they disappear, though. Now, let's imagine immortality in a world where everyone is immortal, right? Where everyone has the option of going into this virtual world where they can live separately. And I don't think it's that bad if everybody was just immortal forever. Now, that does bring up some different situations, doesn't it? Brian, welcome back to the stream. I don't think I'd be able to live forever unless there was else who was immortal as well. There was someone else who was immortal. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to live forever by yourself. Agreed. Yeah. Living forever would be against many religions, but that's something that would trigger a lot of people. Yeah, that's also true. But I mean, I would argue that that's probably the least of our worries, because religion oftentimes adapts to technology as time goes on. I mean, let's be real. Like, theory of evolution went against religion, and still does today. And a lot of people are like against it. But at the same time, religion has adapted to accept the theory of evolution. I mean, the Pope accepted it. Let's be real, right? So I'm not too worried about that. But yeah. So cough, cough. So here's the thing about living forever, right? Living forever in a computer or not in a computer doesn't matter. One thing that it brings up is there's suddenly going to be two personalities, and I read about this once a long time ago. I can't remember where, but there will be two personalities will emerge with immortality. There's one that will try to do everything that he or she can, always, because they feel like they are, given this opportunity to live forever, they must be productive. Otherwise, they'll be wasting their time living forever. And then there's the personality that will never do anything because they have, forever. They'll just never do it. They'll get to it next year, or the next 10 years, next 1,000 years. They'll just never get to it. So yeah, I mean that's those are the two personalities that will emerge because I mean sure they already exist, but you have suddenly a different line of reasoning for both. I don't know. I think that would pose a very interesting problem where it's like, okay, this child or whatever. Actually, here's another problem with the whole afterlife thing, right? Let's say we have someone who goes from who in a world where we can upload our consciousnesses after we die, and then we can live in a virtual world, essentially an afterlife, right? This is a real afterlife. If we could do that, for sure, for everyone, how many people would kill themselves to go into the afterlife? Purposefully commit suicide just so they can go to the afterlife. That's a really, really hard question to answer. That's already been touched on. I think there was some series or something like that, or a movie. I forgot what it's called, but someone like proved the existence of an afterlife. People started committing suicide, and that's very, very scary. But at the same time, is it? Because they're just going to be in that virtual world, and they're going to live in that virtual world forever, and they can do whatever they want in that virtual world. It could even be a better world than the real world, right? And people will prefer to be there. And if they prefer to be there, then who's going to be here? And that's a really hard question to answer, right? Who is going to be here? Are we going to start, bringing those people back in by putting them in artificial bodies so they can interact with the real world again? Maybe. It'd be incredibly expensive. And we still have the problem of overpopulation and stuff like that because it's going to be immortal or whatever. But yeah, that's a really hard question. Also, Feline says I should play Soma on stream sometime. I agree. I really should. It sounds clearly very, very interesting to me. Anyway, so Tish, you have yes. Tish has some interesting things to bring up about good versus evil, right? Alignments, yes. Let's download that real quick. Alrighty. So Tish has written something up. Let's see if we can read it real quick. I have it pulled up here on my screen, but you guys can't see it just yet. Also, can I turn on word wrapping? There we go. Okay, great. So I'm gonna read this out. I'm gonna read out what Tish is saying here, because this is talking about good and evil. Let's try to segue it first. Let's see what else we're talking about here. Yes, play Soma on stream. I should. I've never played it, but suicide is seen as a bad thing, and you will go to hell, right? Yeah, that's another question, Miguel. Actually, you're not religious in just saying yes, but guess what? If we were to have an official afterlife, right, a virtual afterlife, if we were to have that virtual afterlife, who owns that afterlife and who makes those decisions? Is it going to be a corporation? Because that's going to get into some really crazy shit. It's like, oh, what's most profitable for us? Let's have everybody kill themselves so that we make money. Oh, that's bad. What if they created two afterlives? One where they suffer and one where they always have fun. Oh, that sounds a little bit like heaven and hell, doesn't it? Then who's God? Right? Are the corporations God? Is that CEO the God of the afterlife? He determines where you go after you die. Is that God? That is very, very, very gray, in my opinion. Damn. Yeah. Actual side. I always thought that the concept of an afterlife was pretty cool, but if there is an afterlife, it has to be like this life in terms of balance. For example, if there is an afterlife where nothing but good happens, it wouldn't be a good afterlife. It would just be the way that it is. Because there's nothing of the opposite to compare it to. Good and bad work off each other, just like clean and dirty, light and dark, etc. Yes, I agree. I agree. And the thing about that is, also talking about good and bad with Tish. What a great segue. Let's go. No, I'll get to it in just a second. But that's an interesting point, because in terms of good and bad for like heaven and hell, it would be really hard to actually create something that would work for those alignments. And I completely agree. People talk about like heaven and hell. Like I've heard a lot of arguments about, oh, like if heaven is a place where you can't drink booze, then I don't want to go, is what, you know, some comedian said at some point. I don't drink booze, so I'm totally fine with that. But yeah, so that is a very interesting idea. But anyway, yes, talking about good and evil. Would that give us any goals anymore? Yeah, that's a good point. So like, what would you ever qualify for an afterlife? Like, would you have to be a good enough citizen to get there? Would it be owned by the government? Because that'd be really fucking scary, in my opinion. If the government owned it, right? So a government like China, who's already doing all this good citizen point system shit. Let's say a government like China is like, oh, if you do all the things that we tell you to do, you'll get into this afterlife. Suddenly, this government is God, isn't it? And then it's not necessarily you get into heaven or hell; it's that you get into heaven or not at all, right? So let's say you get into this point where you literally cannot you literally cannot you cannot live forever unless you obey the government and become quote unquote good in their eyes, right? Which is obviously not good, because the government does that solely to benefit themselves and not necessarily other people, arguably other people. But yeah, I would say on my spectrum it'd be kind of like a gray area, right? Allowing people to go to the afterlife if they obey you. That's benefiting them if they do what you say, but obviously just benefiting you because you're holding their lives as collateral. Yeah. But anyway, Dr. Bro, I do see your GIF. It's pretty cool actually. Perfectly looping. But yes. But yeah, so let's talk about the spectrum of good and evil again, because we have Tish's alignment thing here. Also, will there be a Gods Don't Bleed 3? Yes, there will be. There will be, eventually. Melody says, I don't believe in heaven, though I believe in hell. I'm from the torture sector. Oh, welcome. Yeah, but yeah, that's the thing about, anyway, let's talk about good and evil, shall we? So, Tish says, so I'm going to use the D&D alignment, 5E alignment system here and explain through the way I see it. Lawful good, in its basest form, lawful good is upholding laws and rules, putting others before yourself, dedicating yourself to justice and righteousness. Then you have neutral good. I see this as wanting to help others but not constantly holding to the rules. This is the most middle ground of the good side of the spectrum, mainly manifesting as a want to help others and prioritizing this over the rules without disregarding them completely. Okay, fair enough. And then we have chaotic good. This is the purest good. It is, oh, interesting. It is putting helping others and stopping pain above all else. The laws aren't relevant. This person is in danger, and no off-limits sign is going to stop me from helping them. Interesting. So chaotic good is actually above the law, which is actually pretty interesting. It's not how I would read chaotic, but it makes a lot of sense. Fair enough. Lawful neutral. This is the ultimate law enforcer. Whatever the law says is whatever you do. The law could be that having anything but blue eyes and blonde hair is illegal, and that those without should be eradicated. You would follow this law without even considering the morality of it. Fair enough. Neutral. This is the most evil of evils. What? Okay, fair enough. Even though there is no evil tag attached to it, I see characters with true neutral on the sheet as characters who put themselves above all else, regardless of the consequences for others. Huh. If something will advance them even slightly but destroying every other living thing, they will take it. Interesting. So that is the true neutral. That sounds a lot like my definition of evil as well. Very, very selfish. Whereas chaotic good is very, very selfless, right? You have the purest good, who is helping others and stopping pain above all else. That includes your own health and body, right? Chaotic neutral. This is where you literally do anything that comes to your head with no second thoughts or the consequences for others or yourself. Fair enough. Let's see. What else does Tish write here? Wasn't the topic AI? Yes, it is. But AI also talks about good and evil. We might as well talk about that as well. Lawful evil. This is the Darth Vader alignment. This alignment is the alignment where laws are set out completely, upholding to the user's beliefs, which are focused on them or someone they support. Fair enough. Vader's a prime example. Blah, blah, blah. That's pretty long. Neutral evil is where everything you do is centered on yourself, and the things you do are harming other people. Oh, okay, so that's interesting. Your intent is to harm others in the name of yourself and your wants and needs. This is the closest alignment to true neutral. I don't like it much. I would argue that neutral evil is actually more evil than neutral neutral. Tish, that's my personal opinion. Artificial. Oh shit! I spelled it wrong. Artificial. There we go. Artificial intelligence. I think I spelled that right. Right? I'm just kidding. But yes. I would say neutral evil is more evil than neutral neutral. In my opinion, Tish. In my opinion. Chaotic evil. This is harming others simply because you want to see others suffer. Oh, actually, that's worse. Whereas neutral evil was harming others to better yourself. This is harming others without any regard for. Okay, so in my opinion, chaotic evil is the worst. Is the worst evil. You mentioned neutral because you're benefiting yourself. But if you're benefiting yourself, it's hard to call it evil. You know, if, for example, if you're really hungry and you steal bread, that's not evil, right? If you're and same thing with neutral evil. If everything you do is centered on yourself, and the things you're doing are harming other people, yes, you are harming others in the name of yourself and your wants and needs. But if you are starving to death and you want to eat and you steal bread, that is not pure evil, in my opinion. It's not pure evil at all. So yeah, I think that's pretty obvious in my opinion. If you have a situation where you're not stealing bread because you're hungry, but you're stealing bread just so that other person can suffer, that is, in my opinion, true evil. And so my alignment, when you talk about chaotic evil, that would be my true evil, in my personal opinion. But yes, artificial. There we go. Thanks, guys. But anyway, so I'm true neutral. F that lamp. Yeah. But yes. So let's talk about how that applies to AI, right? So artificial intelligence is if they were to become some sort of alignment along that spectrum, I think we can all agree that we want them to be true good or chaotic good, right? We want them to be chaotic good in the fact that they will put, preventing pain or whatever above all else. But is that a good thing? Is that a good thing? And is that going to be always good, right? Sir Claude says, if we figured it out, other people, governments, companies, etc. could make afterlives, and we could not control the afterlife after the people go there. Other companies, people, etc. Could make scam afterlives that are basically propaganda afterlives, and other forms of afterlives that are bad. In fact, they could make afterlives with pleasure and afterlives with different understandings of good and evil. Holy shit. Yes. Sorry, just to bring up the afterlife thing again. Yeah, that's a really scary concept, because if we have these AI afterlives and we have these scam afterlives, people can get scammed very easily, and especially if after you die, you don't have control over your brain. You don't have control over which afterlife you go into. That's very, very interesting. I don't know. There would have to be some sort of regulation in place for that. But yes. Anyway, yeah. So let's talk about chaotic good, right, or true good, in the context of AI. So let's say you have an AI that is, no matter what, going to try to help the world in some way, right? Is going to above all laws, including murdering someone, right? Because murdering someone is against the law. Including murdering someone, doesn't matter if someone says you can't murder them. They're gonna murder that person if murdering that person benefits the rest of humanity. That would be what chaotic good would do, right? So it would be like, hey, Hitler, right? Would a chaotic good character kill Hitler? I think it's I think it's arguably that they would. They definitely would, right? So with that, it would probably, you would have an AI that would be willing to do that as well, and that might not be good. That might not be good. That might not be good because with that, you have suddenly this chaotic good of a robot that could potentially, maybe, kill other humans to prevent overpopulation. In the same way, that is justifiable under the chaotic good alignment. So that may not be the best thing. We may want a lawful good. I think that a lawful good might be the best for AI, right? I think that might be probably the best compromise for that. Feline says, when AI is taking over the world, I don't think governments will do the afterlives. We just create worlds similar to the real world in the Matrix. That's true. We could be doing that as well. It could make it so the afterlife is just adhering to the regular world. There could be regulations on afterlives and how they can work and behave. Maybe we can move between afterlives and choose which one we want to live in. Who knows? Maybe not. The world just repeats itself over and over. We create a simulation where we live in, and robots take over until we create a simulation in the sim where we create robots that take. Yeah, well, maybe. We could be a universe inside a universe inside a universe. That's very true. One day they could be the same as the truest lawful good, another the same as the worst chaotic good. Yeah, exactly. It's hard to tell. Broman says, the 3 laws of robotics. Don't injure a human. Robots must obey humans unless it contradicts with Law 1. The robot must protect its own existence except if it conflicts with Law 1 or Law 2. Yeah, so those are the 3 laws of robotics, right? Who was it that read Asimov's books again? I think it was Tish, right? In terms of applying those 3 laws in real life, right? At what point do you guys think that those laws break down in? Because we have those 3 laws, right? Again, don't injure a human, Law 1. Law 2, robot must obey humans unless it contradicts with Law 1. And the third is the robot must protect its own existence, except if it conflicts with Law 1 or 2. So, in terms of real-life application, in what situation would that break down and suddenly become detrimental to society? Spiritual Dylan, Lisa no likey. Yes, well, spiritual Dylan is only here once a week. No, I'm just kidding. When we have robots that are self-improving. Oh, I see. So if you have a robot that's self-improving, then that's gonna be bad because they will be able to write their own laws. Would they be able to overwrite those laws? Good question. I don't know. A robot butler. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, those will be fine. But anyway, let's see if I have any I have a transcript here of some interviews I did. Yeah, so I asked a few questions about AI and ethics. So here's the thing. This is hard. So first of all, self-preservation, right? You talk about number 3. Robots must protect their own existence unless it violates laws 1 and 2. But self-preservation could, if they didn't have laws 1 and 2, could make a robot retaliate against humans. Because, like someone said earlier, humans are the biggest threat to AI. I mean, they are. We are the ones who built them. We can shut them down. We are the biggest threat. So if they wanted to self-preserve, they would kill us, ultimately. Yeah. So there's that. Gotta keep that in mind. But here's another thing. Ethically being able to decide whether or not to kill children. This is a very, very hard decision because you have children involved, which is very, very gray when it comes to ethics for humans. If you have a military robot in a town, attacking a town with children in it, are they going to not be able to fire? Will they just die? Sacrifice themselves? How much can we program in terms of ethics? Because here's a simple situation. If you have a car, right? This is already a thing, right? This is already a thing with self-driving cars. And with self-driving cars, we have the idea that if we ever have anyone actually in a car accident, and let's say they're about to hit a kid, right? For example, and they can swerve away from that kid, but then into a crowd of people, or they can hit that kid and avoid the crowd of people. This is a very, very hard question to answer, especially for artificial intelligence. It's already hard enough for a human to decide, right? It's arguably that a lot of humans will decide to swerve and hit the crowd because it's a kid. That sucks, right? Nobody wants to hit a kid. But if an AI had to decide, they are clearly saving more lives logically if they hit the kid, and that is a huge moral gray area. Did they do the right thing? Are they ever going to do the right thing? Because both answers are not ones that you want. It's just it's an impossible question almost, right? Yeah. Hence the zeroth law: a robot may not harm humanity or by inaction allow humanity to come to harm. Interesting. That's pretty awesome, actually, bro, man. But anyway, we could just tell the AI what decision we would take. Well, it's obviously not just one. It's several different circumstances that have similar kind of pros and cons, right? Should the self-driving car kill a kid or kill the two people in the car? That's another question. Yeah, they could swerve into a building and kill the two people in the car on purpose. Will the car ever put its own drivers in jeopardy? That's a huge question. Yeah. The question in Prey, interesting. Nobody wants to hit a kid. Oh, hey Sarah, you're back. But yeah, fewer casualties. Hit the kid. Yeah, that's a hard one because that's gonna create a lot of backlash about cars too. You know. Programming doesn't matter with quantum computing. We would have to teach it right from wrong. Very interesting. Fair enough. So the computer would learn what was right over time. Would you drive a car that would sacrifice you? Yeah, that's another good question. That car would literally just let you die if it wanted to. And that's a scary thought. Kind of don't want that. But yeah. These are all really good questions. And I think over time, especially since seeing how self-driving cars have advanced in the past few years, I think we're going to answer these questions pretty soon. And hopefully for the better, not for the worse. But once we get these questions answered, is AI going to be beneficial in a way ethically when they have to make decisions like this, especially life and death decisions? And also, is AI going to be good for us when we die? Are we going to be able to transfer our consciousness to an afterlife? And is that a good thing if we do, right? If you have an afterlife that's controlled by the government, is that a good thing? Could be very, very, very bad, really. This is already an issue with Teslas, isn't it? Yes, Teslas have that problem already. And pretty much every self-driving car right now. But yeah, I mean, are these going to be good things? Now, I would say that having military robots shoot nukes against us, probably not as big of a threat to us overall, to our society. I don't think that's going to happen because ultimately we'll have buttons in there that are, going to say otherwise. So it's fine. Yeah. Would you want to be in a car that would kill you over a kid who's running around on the street? I think not. Yeah, I agree. I mean, if the kid is being irresponsible, as much of a kid is, unknowledgeable about these things. But if a kid's being irresponsible, that's completely out of your control. Why should you have to die for it, right? That sucks too. So, yeah, people die if they're killed. But anyway, yeah. Let's see. We touched on transferring your mind to an artificial intelligence. We talked about artificial intelligence taking over all of our jobs, getting a basic universal income from the government through advertisement on roads and stuff like that. We also talked about the afterlife, putting our consciousnesses in an afterlife after we die, so that we solve essentially the ethical moral dilemma of whether or not the original human dies when you upload your consciousness, because the truth is they do, right? The human will die. So what if we just upload it after they die? Well, that would work. Or right before they die. That's great. So that's cool. Better question: would you hit the crowd of people or hit dillongoo? I choose the crowd of people. I would sure as hell miss these streams. That's so dark, but I appreciate it. But I would encourage you probably not to kill people if you could. Anyway, so this is yeah. So we talked about that. We also talked about good and evil, because whether or not a robot can tell what is good and evil, and what kind of alignment, right, with the whole sort of lawfully good or whatever. What kind of alignment would we want them to have? I would argue lawful good. I think that's the best one. Chaotic good is probably not good, right? Not good for a robot to be able to make its own decisions above the laws that we set. So yeah, that's important. But overall, for those things, we have all those four topics. We also talked about, well, what else did we talk about? Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, and I think that answers a lot of questions that we came up with today, and I'm glad we had this talk. Ultimately, just so you guys know, it's 2:30, and we're gonna be wrapping up the stream pretty soon. But yes, I think this was very informative, not just for you guys, but for me as well. So yeah, maybe Dylan, you can use your insane animating powers to make that kid fly, shoot lasers from his eye. Yeah, no, totally, I agree. I'll do that next time. Chappie is a great movie. I should watch that movie actually. I've heard it was good, but I never got around to watching it. Yeah. Most people are lawful good. We obey and uphold laws. We want things to slot into laws, and we want to help people. That's true. However, people aren't the total lawful good. They shift and alter and stuff. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. AM or PM? It's PM for me. Yeah. You can always type in gootime. But at any rate, yeah. So here's the conclusion, right? If you upload your consciousness to AI, you will die. So we don't want to do that, you know, thinking that we'll just turn immortal immediately. I don't think that's really a thing. I think we need to treat uploading our consciousness into a computer more like an afterlife, right? And that would be a virtual world that we can live in virtually, not necessarily in our own body. And we also have the idea that if we were to create an artificial intelligence indistinguishable from humans, would they be able to have emotions and distinguish good from bad? I think ultimately they would if we programmed them in to have a lawful good personality. And I would say that's, in my opinion, as close as we can get. So let's talk about the car dilemma real quick. I would argue never kill the driver, because that's bad for consumerism, but it's bad for business in general. If you kill the driver, nobody's gonna want to buy it. So never kill the driver. Right? Let's say we have that law in place. But let's say you still have to decide between the baby and the crowd of people. I would argue that most likely swerve into the crowd of people, because as much as that sucks and as much as you're going to affect more people, that crowd of people arguably could have a better time reacting, to that particular event, right? You could be like, hey, I'm going to jump out of the way, and I think that would be probably the best course of action, to actually run into the crowd of people. I think. Maybe not, but I think that would probably have the least risk, because the baby can't do anything. It would guarantee kill him. So yeah, they're more likely to have a better reaction. Exactly. Yeah. So I would say crowd of people, but obviously very hard decision, because that sucks too. But they would probably have less time to do stuff. And yeah. But they'll, also, and this sucks, but if you run into a crowd of people, hypothetically, you should slow your vehicle down a little bit so you don't hit as many people as you would if you just kept going. But anyway, that's a little dark, and let's not talk about that too well. But anyway, yes. So yes, the crowd of people already had their chance at life as well. I would let the child have a chance to make a life for themselves. Yes. Oh, but that's an interesting point. What if the child, once he dies, can be uploaded into a consciousness, a virtual consciousness? No, that'd probably be a bad idea. Actually, let's talk about that real quick, because if you upload your mind to a consciousness but your brain hasn't fully developed, what kind of mind would you have? And would that be ethical? Would you have skipped to adulthood in terms of maturity and then have to develop your own memories in life from that? You're essentially an adult that just got born, right? That's a very interesting, like, you don't have to learn anything anymore. You can just kind of download stuff. But that's a very hard thing to argue. You'd be like, okay, well, if you upload a baby's brain into an adult's mind, essentially, because once you put them into an artificial intelligence, their brains are essentially fully matured already. That would be so weird for that baby. For that adult, it would be like, it's like they missed out on half their lives. But then again, they would just live forever, so that's not too bad. But still, it'd be extremely weird. Yeah. Anyway, it would be a kid in an adult mind. Yeah. But that's the thing. A kid in an adult mind is just an adult with no experiences. So they would have to learn various things like social norms and stuff like that, but they don't have to learn, what object permanence is. Would they? I don't know. Anyway, that's just my perusings. I don't even know that's a word. But yeah. So anyway, that's about it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream today. Yeah, we talked about a lot of cool things, a lot of cool issues with artificial intelligence, because it's such a broad issue. And I'm glad you guys enjoyed the stream. If you guys enjoyed the stream, I hope you did. But yeah, it's there's a lot of moral gray areas. We can go on and on about it. But for today, I'm gonna end the stream for today. We've touched on a lot of the main topics. And one of the things that interests me the most is the idea of having an afterlife, a simulated afterlife, with uploaded consciousnesses. That's just something that, in my opinion, is not only super cool but super scary, because you can have people controlling that universe. And when we have it, so it's like, right now people talk about religion and talk about God and stuff like that. Whether or not you believe in God is irrelevant. In that world, God exists, and that God is the programmer. So, the programmer can just go in and screw it and give you $1 million in that afterlife, right? Easily. Or just shut it off, So, yeah, it's a pretty crazy idea, and that's something that I think, in my opinion, as of today's stream, piqued my interest the most. And God is a programmer. Yeah, if God is a programmer. Okay, let's be real. If I'm gonna talk about this next time, probably. If we live in a simulation, God is a programmer. End of story. But yeah. Will you be my teacher, says Fazok. If you want to talk more to me about this, go into the Discord and we can talk in the wholesome chat, because it's a very philosophical chat, text channel. So feel free to talk to me there. I bet God plays Overwatch. Yeah, probably. Let's be real. Probably made Overwatch just for himself. But yeah, thanks for the awesome stream. Well, you're welcome for the awesome stream, and I'm glad you guys like this format, because it's really chill for me too. But yeah, at any rate, I will see you guys in the Discord. If you guys haven't joined the Discord already, please do so. And I'm starting next week. I'm gonna give it probably another 2 or 3 streams before I switch completely over to Twitch, actually. So if you guys are on YouTube and want to keep following me and follow these streams and stuff like that, follow me on Twitch, because I won't be able to stream on YouTube in the future, because there's an exclusivity clause with the Twitch affiliate program. But I gotta do the Twitch affiliate program. It's a really cool program that will benefit the channel and the stream. So for the good of the stream, I have to leave YouTube soon enough. So if you're on YouTube, follow me on Twitch and join the Discord, and you'll know exactly when I stream, no matter what platform I stream to. So yeah, this was like the best stream I've ever been in. Well, Neko, I'm glad you liked it. Yeah. Listening to a podcast and whatever, and Discord is pinging. Oh yeah, one thing that you can do is you can actually turn on streamer mode. And streamer mode usually activates when you have OBS or something open, but you can also turn it on manually, and that'll just turn off all notifications until you turn it back on. So I'm streaming right now, but people are pinging me, and I won't know. So it's a pretty cool thing. I can check it afterwards, and then that's pretty cool. Overall, great feature. Alright guys, that's it for today. I'll see you guys in the Discord, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Actually, I'll be doing some more Katsu Watch animation tomorrow. So normal stream tomorrow. Tomorrow's Monday, 2:30 p.m. CST. Everything's on schedule, whatever. And yeah, that will be it. When will you upload more role modeling videos on your main channel? Yes, I do want to do that. Just one I haven't uploaded yet. But I have noticed that role modeling streams, you know, they do kind of okay in terms of me uploading them, and so I'm kind of hesitant to uploading another one because it just sort of, you know, some people like it, some people actually don't like it. So I don't know. I'm sure you guys all love it, of course, because you guys are awesome. But some people just, you know, we've had people who just prefer not watching them on YouTube and uploading it because they want to see other stuff. So I wanna look into seeing if that role modeling thing is really something that people are interested in seeing on the channel, because that's what's most important. But yeah, that's why I'm hesitant on that latest episode. But other than that, I mean, I will try to do these kinds of things every week. Once a week, we'll have something on Sundays that will be interesting to you guys. Either this or, you know, role model or something or other. We'll see. But yeah, I'm thinking about bringing back the GooCast a little bit more. But if not, then we'll try something else. But I hope you guys liked it. I'll see you guys on Discord. I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, I'm officially leaving. All right, peace and love and other things. I forgot how it goes. Peace, love, and dillongoo. All right, bye.